Let's talk about SAA's biggest program, how we, officially became, overnight success. So how did homecoming, originally start, going beyond, when SAA took it over?
Sure. Um, History, and I wasn't there, but in 1910, two Greek students, one was Elmer Ekblad, and he became an Arctic explorer later in life, a professor of geology. And Illinois Field was the location where we played football at that time, which is now the North Quad, the engineering quad, in many respects. Well, anyway, to fast forward a little bit from there, there was house decks were big in the 40s and 50s. And they even had at night, on Friday night, they had the routes on campus marked with the police so that cars could slowly drift through different streets and so forth. I remember doing that as a kid with my folks. And then I think it goes back maybe even a little further, but the stadium itself had on the north end of the stadium, there were concrete steps, you might say, large steps. And it went up on both sides. There was a campus queen contest. And there were flags by each step in which the candidate would rise as the announcements was made for her name at that time and the school that she represented. That went on until, I'm not sure when that part of the stadium was torn down, but it could have been as late as the 50s or 60s. And I'm not sure how organized the homecoming concept was, if it was done entirely by students of their own volition, or if the university in some way had some relationship with organizing it. So we come to 1978, it would have been. And one afternoon, nice afternoon in the spring, a young man came into the office, a sophomore from Moline, Illinois, by the name of Josh Grafton. And Josh had an idea. Beyond an idea, he had a plan even. He had been around campus for several months trying to find a place that he could initiate his program, and that was to revive homecoming. He thought that was very important and something that he wanted to do or be a part of. And he, even beyond the idea, I remember him having the names of these students that he wanted to be the head of the various components of homecoming. We had over a year to work on it. I remember after a couple meetings with Josh, I really believed in Josh. I believed he could do it, but really we didn't have an organization at that time yet. We were not an RSO, a registered student organization yet. We had just volunteer members. We didn't have membership selection. And here the opportunity was to coordinate a campus-wide event. And it seemed like a big stretch, and it was a risk. We had a hard time, not a hard time, but it took a lot of time, let's put it that way, to convince, to get confidence from the administration itself, from the Alumni Association especially. They were concerned about the reputation of the association if we would fail or partially fail. So it took time. Excuse me.
So why did Josh choose SAA? Did he meet with other groups?
He had met with other groups first. I can't tell you all of them, but I assume they included a Illini Union board, probably the Athletic Association, possibly even IFC Van Hill. So a mixture of university offices and student offices. But the 8 students or so that he had already selected actually became members of, well, yes, we didn't have the membership selection, but they were included in our group shortly after that time. And I guess going forward a little bit in the next, I guess what you call the next chapter of the next year, Josh became president of SAA. We we didn't have a membership selection. These 8 students were just included in the group that was already there, and they continued to take campus tours. And some of them were helping with homecoming, and some were concentrating on the tours. But we became an RSO that following year. Governor Thompson, let's put it this way, President Eikenberry came aboard in the summer of 1979. That would have been 9 months after Josh started his effort. But he had really already talked to President Eikenberry several times, and I think really had his ear, so to speak. It happened that President Eikenberry had a very deep interest in using students in a positive way to represent the university. I remember the President's Home really never was, at least to my knowledge, students were very seldom invited to the President's Home for any sort of function. It was usually probably deans or higher administrative people that were invited to the President's Home. So this is the first time in my knowledge that the President's Home has really opened up to students, including students in many ways. Well, anyway, it's a little bit off the subject, but getting back to homecoming, Josh was a political science student. He didn't take many courses or probably do very well because he really was concentrated on doing this. So in many ways, it was like we hadn't really seen ourselves as an organization that could do something like Josh was proposing for us to do. And it just changed everything, because after that fall, or during that next fall, the fall of '79, it was, I think we knew we had something going for us, and it was pretty solidly going to happen in a positive way. But Josh just kept trying to add things and make it stronger. We had a trial pep rally on John Street in front of Cam's one night about 3 weeks before homecoming, and on a flatbed truck trailer, and cheerleaders and the coach at that time, Gary Bowler.
How did you get people to that event?
Well, we had a campus social chairman named Bob Davis that went into CAMS, and he knew how to get people out. And so we had the CAMS people that night. This was a Thursday night. And actually, President Eikenberry was in his office on the 3rd floor across the street in the administration building. He didn't come over, but he wondered what was going on over there. A little noise and so forth. And I guess that was about the time Josh took me to meet President Eikenberry. I had never met him, of course, and Josh took me with him one day, and very soon after that, and I met him for the first time during that period. So the night of homecoming, October 22nd, I believe it was, in '79, about 10 of us were in the auditorium, inside the auditorium. The quad, or the steps of the auditorium, was where the pep rally was going to be put on. And we were inside, and one of the students, Tom Psychotic, came running in about 6:15 that night and said, "Oh, they're on Green Street, and there's 5 deep there in some areas." And we could all just visualize. Here was the chief on a Palomino horse, leading the band, and leading the parade, and it was going to come onto the quad. The floats were going to be on either walk, the crowd would be in the middle, and it was wonderful, a big sigh of relief. But going back a little bit, there were all sorts of things. When you do an event for the first time, a lot of questions. Oh, you're going to ruin the grass on the quad. That's going to cost a lot of money. The sidewalks aren't going to stand up underneath the weight of the trucks and the trailers and the floats. And the fireworks. Oh, we've never had fireworks on campus. I don't know if we can do that. The insurance would be very expensive, and it was a big safety issue. But bit by bit, those were solved, and especially over that summer when Josh had met President Eikenberry and got his confidence. I think some of those things melted away. Others we were able to solve, and I think we knew it after that, or that during that evening, that we had passed from just being a niche organization to being something that was going to become special. And that next January, we did have our first membership selection, and not only a large number of students applied, but the quality was there. And it's been that way, I think, ever since, although I didn't experience 23 years of the organization until just recently, to know that for sure. But it was very special, and students recommended students they knew, and it just flowered from there. So homecoming was the key to what happened after that.
So the first pep rally chair, Craig Burkhart, who organized the pep rally, how did he figure out how to do all that?
Well, Josh and Craig were very good friends. I really don't know how Josh met Craig or some of the other students that Josh had selected. They birthed them all parts of campus, it seemed to me. And Craig had been a Boy Scout, Eagle Scout, and was involved with their national jamboree in New Mexico for several years. And somehow he knew how to do 3-screen slideshows. I guess the last night of the jamboree each year, they had a review of the week that he put together on that Friday, and he knew how to do it. On campus, it was a matter of so many people. It took more than a community to put all this together. K104 at that time, Michael Hale was their director, I believe, and Jane Honda was on the staff. They put together so many PSAs for us to help us with the publicity. Jim Turpin of Channel 3 just did the same. We were just so fortunate, and I think the community as well as the campus was hungry for something big to happen, and the timing with a new president, timing meant a lot to what happened, I think.
It's incredible. It was the first time SAA did this program,
Right.
and it wasn't kind of a test run. It was more, you had that test run beforehand, but
Right.
but when it actually happened, you over prepared for it.
In a way,
In a way, and it was probably one of the most successful
yeah, it was.
programs, just because a lot of work went into it. You try to put everything together from all over the place, which is pretty incredible. And if you think about in the bigger picture, it wasn't just putting together the pep rally. It was also getting the Greeks back on board, involved with homecoming, because at the time the Greeks were having their homecoming queen contest, but there wasn't a whole lot else going on.
And it did. They also offered a king queen contest for the first time that year, which
And then
was due.
the Greeks host the parade again, because the parade wasn't going on. When did the bonfires start?
Okay, I should mention bonfires. There were bonfires in the earlier 70s. After that first homecoming, we sponsored a bonfire each year, not on homecoming weekend, but earlier, out near Illini Grove, the forestry area, just inside a block from west of the forestry. At that time, there was some open space in there that was used. But gee, it all kind of runs together, Kip, but it was a great experience. And the risk paid off, and the Alumni Association was pleased, and obviously we started a new life knowing that maybe campus events as a sponsor or a co-sponsor or a participant was where we were, and there wasn't that much competition at that time, because most organizations, even the major ones, just had a slice of the campus, like housing, either whether it was university housing or IFC or Pan Hill. Most of them wanted to stay in a section of campus and didn't see themselves as sponsoring the wider events. So that was a plus too. That's it, I guess.